Hi friends, this is Carissa with Inky Fairy Designs, and I am here on the Shawn Petite YouTube channel to share with you my last project for the year as part of the creative team. We're going to be creating this gorgeous canvas, and I want to show you the supplies that I'm using first. Of course, I'm using some Shawn Petite stencils today. The first one here is from the spring release. This is the dictionary page. Absolutely love text and had to have that one. And then I have this one. It's called Cobblestone, and I like that it has two different kind of sizes of that to create texture in your backgrounds. And then one that I've had and never used before is called Wing and a Prayer with masks. And I love this one. I love the wings. I love that mask. And I really enjoyed creating with all of these stencils today. You can see I have quite a variety of products out here on my desk that I'm going to be using today. Different kinds of paints. I've got fluid acrylic paints. I've got high flow paints. I've got the gloss sprays by Dina Wakley Media and some golden paints, Deco Art Media. I've got archival ink, I've got my Stabilo pencils and water brushes, and just lots and lots of goodies that we're going to be creating with today. If you want a full list of supplies and colors, please check out the blog for all of that. I did use some collage medium to add my collage, and I used the crazing collage I showed you there real quick and up close. It's a very it creates this like crackle texture, and I had never used it before to just collage with, even though it is a collage medium. It's called Crazing, and I absolutely loved it. It was just on my desk, so I reached for it, and I did all of my collage on the background first for that, and then let it dry completely, and it created this gorgeous texture. All of that crackle that you'll be able to see throughout the piece. So now I'm just adding a thin layer of gesso, as you can see, and I will remove some of that in certain areas just so that I can have some of that color peeking through, even though you probably won't see much of that by the end of the project. So here are the gloss sprays that I started out with: Aloe, Heather, and Carnation. These are a newer release and new colors in the line, and I really love them to create backgrounds because they're permanent. They're one of the only sprays that I know of that are permanent, and when I'm creating backgrounds, because we're adding lots and lots of layers, I definitely want to have that. I want to be able to know that that's going to stay in place and not move around. So I'm just going to spray it around in different areas. I am using the papers as inspiration for my color. So there was a bit of green in that paper and some pinks and purples, and so that's why I chose those. And then of course it had this really beautiful neutral shade in the background of those papers, so I brought that in with apricot. Now I'm going to take this dictionary page stencil, and I'm just going to start stenciling and adding some texture, some text to the background using the archival ink and a blending sponge. Again, as we're building up layers, I definitely want those first layers to be permanent, so that's why I'm using the archival ink. And I really love this stencil. I'm not trying to make it so that we're seeing the entire text or, dictionary words and stuff, but I just wanted to add that here and there, focusing mainly around the edges. So here I tried to add some paint to my brayer, but it wasn't working. I think I had too much texture on my page already, or on my canvas already at this time, and so it added a little bit of the paint, and then I'm just going to continue spreading it out with my fingers, which I love doing anyway. And to lighten it up a little bit because it was a little bit dark, I added some white paint. Now I'm going to do some removal stenciling or negative stenciling. I'm not sure exactly what we call this. I'm sure there is a technique for it, but I'm just removing some of that paint off of my canvas through the stencil and leaving that outline in the back. I really love that technique because if it gets super dark or busy, you can always do that while the paint is still wet and remove some of that but still leave some of that color behind. So it's a really great thing to do. I think I missed a portion where I added some teal, but we'll see that in a bit. So now I'm going to add some paint through this stencil. So I'm using this silhouette here and just filling her in. And I kind of placed it where it was in the middle of the two circles that were on my paper initially that I collaged down. Don't think you can really tell anymore, but that is where I knew I wanted to put her. And so I wanted her to be, I didn't want her to be flat. So a lot of times when I'm stenciling, I'll just stencil one color through the stencil. And this time I got a little daring and I added a bit of darker color to the left side of her. And I really loved how that looked, to be able to blend those two colors right through the stencil. And then I felt like I needed to add maybe some background figures in here. I wasn't sure exactly where I was going with this quite. Initially, when I sat down to create, I thought I was just going to stencil in that one figure, but she becomes the like foreground, and then we have these little figures in the background just to add a bit more interest. So now I'm going to line up the wings, and I'm just going, I think I mixed buff and white together to kind of create some dimension through the wings. And I'm just using a makeup sponge to do all of my stenciling today, other than the dictionary page. And so when you're doing this and you're doing the wings, obviously you're using one wing to create both the left and the right. So you want to clean that off before you flip it over and do the other side. Otherwise, you're just going to have a big blob, and we don't want that. So I cleaned that off really good, really carefully. These stencils are delicate, and they are, you know, they're just delicate, and so you want to be careful when you're cleaning them off to do this technique. Just kind of dab it off with a wet paper towel and gently remove that paint. You don't want to ruin the stencil or any of those little pieces in between the wings. So now here I'm going to add, I had some of that lip paint left over. I'm not going to let it go to use. So I'm going to add it a bit here and there around my canvas and kind of just tie in the color of those wings throughout. But here I am really, really loving the direction that this canvas is going. And I was really, really happy with how the wings stenciled behind my figure. And so here I am going around all of that stenciling with a Stabilo Marks All pencil in black. This is my favorite journaling pencil. It is water soluble, as you'll see right here. So I can go around, I use my water brush and go around and just draw that out, let it fade out. So it is water soluble, it will not be permanent. So this is one of those mediums that I do not use in the very beginning of my creating a canvas or a piece like this because it's going to move, you know, no matter what you put over top. And you'll see that throughout. I do end up adding more around this, but you can fix it pretty easily. I'm going in while the water is still wet and adding more of that pencil because it gets darker as it is wet, and I really wanted it to be very, very dark. You can see how that little bit of pencil and shading really makes the figure pop, and that's what I wanted. I wanted her to really stand out against that background, but not take away from it as so either. So now I'm going to fill in those little bits through the stencil of the wings just to soften up and, you know, kind of make it look like maybe they're a little bit transparent. You can still see a bit of the background behind, but it's not so just like right there. And I'm going to add a little bit more texture and some paint marks to those wings, just using my paintbrush and leftover paint that's on my table. And then I still have a little bit more paint, so I'm going to add more of that texture around my canvas. I think the white little spots just add a bit of interest and texture and really draws your eye around the piece. So now I want to frame out my canvas, and I'm actually working on an 8x8 MDF board. I don't think I mentioned that in the beginning, but that is what I'm working on. And so I want to frame that out. I was really inspired to get these MDF boards by Shawn Petite, of course. She uses them all the time, and I really do like them because they are, it's a hard surface, um, and unlike canvas, soft canvas, you don't have that give that you get, and it's really easy to collage on. It's really easy to add tons of mediums to, and so I've really enjoyed creating on some MDF boards over the past year, and I'm sure I'll continue to do that in the future. When I get brave enough to create canvases, I'm usually stuck or just like to create in my journals because it's a safe place. I don't have to worry about showing it or displaying it or anything like that. Not that I display a lot of my canvases anyway, but I just always feel like there's a little bit of pressure when I'm creating on a canvas like this because it could be displayed. And yeah, I really love how this one came out. And talking about being brave, that is the quote that I use for this canvas. With brave wings she flies, and those words came from a free printable available in the Shawn Petite library. So I'm going to add a bit of gold splatters here with this gloss spray, and then I'm going to add a little bit of doodling around the quote and a little bit of doodling around the figure just to give her a little bit more of a sketchy feel. I like to add those sketchy lines and really just kind of blend it in to the piece. But that's pretty much it for it. I really enjoyed creating this one. I love the colors that I used, and that really came from a lot of the inspiration from those Prima Moonchild papers that I used to collage in the background. Again, they're covered up, but it's always a jumping off point for me, and I do get inspiration from the colors that I use. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to the Shawn Petite YouTube channel, as well as mine if you want to hop over to Inky Fairy Designs. There'll be a link to it in the video description. If you want to if you like what you've seen and you've seen me create over the past year and you want to continue to follow me since I won't be here anymore, definitely head over to my channel, check it out, and subscribe. I'd love to have you there. And I create a lot of mixed media over there, watercolors, a little bit of cards, kind of a little bit of everything. I think you'll find some fun stuff there. But here is a close-up of this canvas. You can see all of that crackle texture. It's absolutely gorgeous. Loved it. I'll definitely be using that crazing medium more often to do my background collage. I'm going to leave you here with a few more close-ups and let you know that that's it. I was going to let you know that there is a call out. I think it's still open for Shawn Petite's creative team. I highly encourage it. It's been a blast. I loved every minute of it. Everybody on the team is so kind and understanding, especially throughout the curveball that we've been thrown this year. But yeah, definitely if you have a heart for mixed media and sharing that with others, give it a try. So I hope I see you on my channel sometime. Till the next time. Bye.